Comics and Comics, we have a segment where we like to give an opinion about something, and if you've ever read any fanboy post on any message board anywhere, you understand why we call this segment, But Let's Face It. It's a strange time for animation. Hand-drawn is pretty much dead in films, and will probably not last that much longer in TV. With CG dominating the special effects in live-action movies, there's now a very fine line between what is an animated movie and what isn't. The Three Caballeros was an anomaly in 1944, but now countless live-action movies feature people interacting with characters that were added in post. I have to think that the amazing motion capture in Tintin is making studios wonder if they can get rid of actors entirely, at least all but the few top stars. History has given us a lot of good cartoons, and I don't just mean preparatory drawings for fresco paintings, both in TV and in films. But let's face it, we Americans don't respect cartoons enough. I don't like the hype that comes during the production of a live-action film that was already well told in animated form. Cartoons are not a dress rehearsal for live action. When the Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher Batman sequels were coming out in the 90s, the pre-release reaction for each one should have been, if this movie is thumbs up, great, but it will only be gravy on top of the wonder that is Batman the Animated Series. But instead, the attitude was and is that the success of the character lives and dies by the live-action incarnations. I've read a lot of reviews about The Last Airbender saying that it sucked. And it did. But I read next to no reviews saying that it was based on a wonderful cartoon series that we should all have on DVD. The bad live-action films of Fist of the North Star don't diminish the quality of the original anime. And if you don't know what Fist of the North Star is, that's okay, as long as you go to an anime torrent site immediately upon finishing this monologue. I don't know if this year's Avengers film will have the fight against the Hulk like the end of the first Ultimate Avengers animated movie, but that awesomeness already exists is plenty for me. Now, conversely, there are examples of cartoons that expand the universes of live-action source material. And when this is well done, there simply isn't enough applauding of the work. The hand-drawn Clone Wars cartoon that led directly into the opening of Revenge of the Sith was exceptional. Now, the CG movie of Clone Wars, which was essentially the pilot for the series currently on Cartoon Network, was pretty bad. But the series itself has become great. There are lots and lots of really good episodes, some of which are surprisingly dark and uncompromising. Yet, I don't hear all the people who are still bitching about the prequels talking about this show. What, did George Lucas rape your TV remote? I do hear lots of talk these days about how TV is better than movies. But the assumption is that we as a culture are all live-action snobs. Well, speak for yourself. The Droids cartoon in the 80s was pretty weak, and let's face it, so was the Super Friends. We've recently gotten much, much better versions of both, and that is worth celebrating. As I said before, there are also some wonderful recent animated films, some of which have made good money. But I just feel like what the American movie-going public will accept from an animated film is a bit narrow. We should be ashamed of the grosses for all Miyazaki films that have been released in the US. And we should hang our heads in shame at the measly $26 million earned by the Iron Giant in 1999. I'm not saying that we should go to crazy, eccentric animated films like Worker and Parasite from The Simpsons, nor am I saying that Fire and Ice should have made $100 million, nor that Final Fantasy didn't suck. But let's face it, cartoons shouldn't have to have funny animals or funny anthropomorphic objects in order for us to take our kids, or, heaven forbid, go ourselves.